About your dad now. I knew he was a musician. He was a musician. I didn't know he was that good. You and father and mother worked with the great Nat King Cole. Now, Nat King Cole is one of the great singers of all time. Died of lung cancer. I didn't know what year it was. 65. We just looked it up. But my father was a huge Nat King Cole fan growing up, so that's how I know something about him. And your dad and mom both worked for him and had big spots for him. So let's talk about that for a sec. Go ahead.
That's right. Yeah, my father was quick story. Backstory, he was actually a child of wedlock. His father raped this 14-year-old girl who was a stepdaughter, and the product of that was my father.
Oh, my goodness.
So he's raised literally being hidden in the back drawer, back closet of his home because no one could explain why this 15-year-old had this child in the house, and so he was raised with this shame right from start. So he then took that chip on his shoulder to go earn his self-worth and became one of the best piano players and music directors in New York, ended up getting asked by Frank Sinatra and Nat King Cole, come work for me. And he actually decided on Nat because he said that Nat had a higher moral compass, which is interesting.
Which is accurate.
Which is accurate.
Sinatra was a tough guy. Boy, oh boy. Go ahead.
So that was it, man. So, and looking at my father's history of that, and overcoming his self-worth issues, right? And then I had the self-worth issues transferred down to me in my career. So it's really interesting to look back.
And your mom, too, was involved in this?
My mother was a singer in California, grew up in San Diego, and went and tried out at 19 years old and got the gig and flew to New York and was part of Nat's backup group for many years.
And that's how your parents met?
That's how they met.
Wow. Now, was your father, some musicians are huge sports fans. Was your father a huge sports fan? Mickey Mantle and all those kinds of things?
He was. He grew up in the Bronx, I want to say 161st Street. And
right next to Yankee Stadium. How about that?
Yeah, he was right there, always going to those games, always told me, about the Yankees lore. And
early 60s, they were great, Whitey Ford, and you got a little Whitey Ford in you, a little Whitey Ford and things like that, right?
That's right, yeah. And ironically, he was a New York Giants fan, even though they were playing here in Manhattan. So, then I went and played for the Giants.
So that's right. For the Polo Grounds, he was a Mays fan and everything else.
That's right.
All right. So now, growing up with your development, did he go to all your games, or was he busy with his own career? Did you have the pressure of trying to live up to your dad pitching Little League Baseball?
Well, after he left New York, he became a talent manager, like I mentioned, in Vegas, and we moved to San Diego so my mom could go be a pastor in the church with her mother, who had founded a spiritual church. And so now Dad had nothing to work in entertainment-wise, and he just focused all his efforts on me. So we were in the backyard 2 hours a day, literally for 12 years. And the only times we weren't back there was holidays and sick days. So, I mean, baseball...
Working on pitching.
Pitching was a job probably by the age of 9 or 10, and he would literally tell my sisters and mother, don't talk to Barry, he's starting today. So here I go, right? Baseball now became more important than even my own sisters and family.
Now, there's two schools of thought with that. One that's not healthy. The other school of thought is it worked. You turned out to be a hell of a pitcher. You turned out to be a hell of a pitcher. You won a Cy Young. You won a World Championship. You made a fortune. I mean, you probably made $200 million or whatever it might be. That you can't. That counts. So
that's right.
There was two sides to that. Maybe at times you were not as healthy mentally as you'd like to be, but by the same token, you could be creative in things that you wanted to do. You didn't have to worry about making a living the rest of your life. And you got a ring, and you're on TV, radio shows like this, and me waxing poetic about Barry Zito's career.
That's right.
So there's two schools there.
Great point, Chris. Great point. You can't just go on one side. And here's the thing. Listen, what do we value in society? Do we value contentment? Do we value peace? Do we value going to sleep with a clear conscience and sleeping good at night? Or do we value financial freedom? Do we value,
success,
sports cars, money, boom, fame, accolades, right? And I can't sit here and say I would give it all back today, for this, and this. I lived the life I lived. I'm not sure exactly where I'd be without all that. But I can say that on either side there's going to be fallout. But I'm almost just writing this book, as a warning flare of, hey, just make sure something is more important in your life than your accolades, than your success, than your relationships. Because I feel like we make all of those things our gods, right? We bow down to them and they define us. And now we go to sleep at night, praying that something's going to change with usually a lot of stuff we can't control.
But that's all true. And I understand where you're coming from. But the great thing for you is that you, in your history, you have games on the mound where your only focus was that catcher's mitt, and you're in a zone, you're an artist, and you're pitching your team in big games. pitching against Mussina in Game 3. You're pitching for the Giants to keep them in a World Series or keep them in a playoff series. So you have some artistic moments where you can just focus in on greatness. And most of us can't do that. So we got to give your father a little credit for that, correct?
No, absolutely, yeah. And, and again, this is how I interpreted my childhood. Our parents don't always mean to do these things to us.
That's true.
They always mean their best, I would imagine. I mean, hopefully most of them do. But, we interpret it differently as kids growing up. And so, my father has passed away, and unfortunately I haven't got to talk to him about all these things. And
When did he pass away?
He passed away the year after we won that 12 World Series. And that was great. He got to see that.
So he did. Did he go to all your games in the postseason when you were pitching for the A's?
Oh, yeah. Mom and Dad used to drive up from L.A. every game in Oakland,
Would he analyze your performance after the game and drive you crazy, or he'd leave you alone?
Oh, he was still managing my career into my 30s.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. He would stay up overnight sometimes. We'd talk pitching. I mean, it was like a therapy session after bad games. Mom and Dad were sitting there telling me how to get my game right. And, I mean, again, baseball became this thing that was just way more than a game.
Do you regret it, or are you happy that it worked out this way?
It's hard to imagine any other way it could have gone, but I do wish I had a little more perspective. I honestly feel like my career would have been better if I just said, this is a game, go have fun and do your best, but you can't control the results and you can't always please everybody. I used baseball as a vehicle to tame my insecurities most of my career.